Hello, hello. Welcome to Meditation Nerd. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're doing well. Um, I'm struggling today. Oh, try yourself. Okay. So, I didn't want to put this off. I feel like speaking about this is highly relevant given our current circumstances. Today, we're going to discuss authoritarian tactic 4, which is the disappearing of, well, that's not what I used. It's the erasure of knowledge and history. Given what's currently going on, disappearing is um, inappropriate, I feel. Erasing is more accurate in this context. So, the point of this is to systematically erase, distort, or invalidate sources of shared knowledge. So, this can be book banning, it can be rewriting curricula, if I can get my teeth around that, attacking universities, attacking the press, etc. This I wanted to speak a little bit more or on a personal level because while it's easy to make this tactic seem like it's just on a grand scale, um, this can show up in the form of, say, family withholding information. I remember when I was growing up, there was a secret that was kept from us that it wasn't me, it was still family, so it did still impact me from the outside. Um, and that information that was withheld was very detrimental because it completely shifted a lot of different things. This can be information that's withheld at work that could set you up to fail in your role. It could, change the way you handle your role. Um, and this can also be, gaslighting in relationships, right? So there is a personal level to this as well. This is not just on the grand scale of the macro that we see, where it's scientific facts either being distorted, misquoted, or just buried altogether. It's not just politicians, largely lying to people, that type of thing. Those are the macro examples of this. So I wanted to make sure to call out that the insidiousness of this tactic is its ubiquity, right? It's very easy to shift information or hide information or build distrust with sources, friends, family, etc. So I just wanted to make sure that I highlighted those facts as well because um, again, it's very easy to think in macro terms, and I'm noticing that that seems to kind of be my frame for a lot of things. So I just kind of wanted to call that out just for anybody else that tends to look at things like that as well as more of a macro. Well, that is true, and these are going to be the largest examples that you come across. It makes it harder to see the small ways that it shows up in our lives. That being said, when this happens, it destroys the common ground that we have with each other, right? And common ground is a necessity for societies to function cohesively. Um, and this makes us dependent on an external source of quote unquote truth, right? Instead of the collective coming together, such as peer review in papers or the scientific method, where your peers also try to rigorously test your findings. And now I just blanked on all the other examples I have, so I will continue to move through. I don't want to harp on this too much. It was just important for me to point these out as well because, again, I'm trying to allow my growth to include macro, micro, and reading about trauma sensitive mindfulness has really helped me kind of engage with that and step more into, okay, well, where am I seeing this on different levels, right? To start engaging that muscle. And then to the psychological impact that this tactic can have, it's very disorienting, right? This this acts as an assault on our shared world, and it builds distrust widely, right? It can start with a distrust of ourselves, whether that's mental, it's our senses, it's physical states, right? Then it can extend out to friends and family, it extends out to institutions, right? So, ripple effect. And then this ultimately, again, brings the power back to people in positions of power, right? However that looks. Again, not just speaking about world leaders or politicians, or, it could be the CEOs, it could be maybe your partner, it can be a parent, like, there's multiple layers that this can show up in. So I just wanted to make sure to highlight the fact that it's not just the macro that this is going to show up on, as a reminder to myself to continue to look for the micro ways that I'm microways, the microcosm. Okay. Okay, so I made sure I spoke about that. I spoke about that. Okay. Now this brings us back to the macro of what's occurring. We've had yet another ending of a precious human life by ICE. This is the most violent form of this on this spectrum of erasing history and knowledge. Um, in the way that, now we're being gaslit about what happened, without an investigation, just, um, now the point being here, and I'm probably gonna struggle through this one. I am really impacted by what I'm seeing happening in the world, and that can be really hard to speak through as I remind myself to just allow what's flowing up to flow up to the best of my ability. I do want to point out that this is not an anomaly of this tactic. Again, the violence is the extreme end of this spectrum that we live on when our history is and our knowledge is being erased. So, a couple points I wanted to make about humor, though. When I'm struggling to carry a lot of things, I will reach for comedic skits I've seen. I will reach for comedians I love and pull up some of my favorite skits that they've done to help me laugh, to help me ground, to help me find a way to stay open. So, if you're someone that is in a position where that might offend you, or you are not in a space to see that from the loving place that I intended to be, I fully support where you're at. And I would say probably this, maybe come back to this live, or come back to the recording when you feel that you will see the laughter that I'm going to do my best to bring into this heavy topic, given the severity of what's happening, for my own peace of mind, my own grounding, not to be dismissive of anything that's happening. I would say, when you're better able to receive that, if you are welcome to come back to this. I do think that the seriousness of what's happening also requires our ability to laugh, to be able to smile, to be able to find joy. Whichever of these we find grounding, it's just as important to reach for those as well, as acknowledge the heaviness and the horrors and all of the other aspects, right? I do not see these as separate. For me, they're requiring together. So I just wanted to call that out before we move forward, and to give anyone a heads up that may need to step away in case you're going to find that, again, offensive or uncomfortable, or if you can't receive that right now. Totally understand that. Go ahead and circle back to this. Okay, so tonight we are going to be focusing on what I've dubbed our inner archive. Now, this is not about our inner truths, okay? Um, this is about the facts, okay? This is our way of holding on to this information, to holding on to the history within ourselves. and the somatic resonance that these have, because this is also important for being able to push back against this tactic. Um, Sorry, I'm a little discombobulated. Give me just 1 second. Okay, I do not feel ready to dive into that. Maybe I will move that to the end of our live session. So my apologies, I didn't mean to speak for 10 minutes. There were just certain things I wanted to make sure that I did address at the top before we get into any of the extras. Okay, no, my system is freezing. Okay, I will take that time. So let's just take this moment to kind of sit together and take a couple of breaths. You can have your gaze softened or you can have your eyes closed, whichever you feel comfortable with. Oh, I did want to call out this. So, this is going to be an exercise where we do call on memory. We are connecting with bodily experiences with my trauma sensitive mindfulness. David, the author, my apologies, I don't know how to pronounce his last name and I don't want to mispronounce it again. He did bring up a very good point that I forgot to add to my chat session. If at any point you feel overwhelmed and anchoring to your breath isn't enough, opening your eyes isn't enough, getting up and kind of shaking your arms a little bit, maybe give your legs a little bit of a shake, if that also isn't enough, another approach that has been helpful for others is to look at something or hold something that you find grounding. Okay. So that can be, maybe it's snow on the ground, maybe it's trees outside, maybe it's the smell of rain, um, maybe it's holding a pet, your child, maybe it's simply just putting your hands on the wall for a physical sensation of grounding, right? But giving that object your full undivided attention to really ground into here and now to help you anchor to yourself so that you're not lost in any emotions that arise. And that being said, if you feel concerned at any point, or if you, maybe this sounds like you're thinking this is too much, please again circle back to this. Your safety, your boundaries, where you're at is most important. Always above all, listen to your intuition, your authentic voice. I'm offering suggestions, full stop. You need to listen to your intuition to where how far you go with this, okay? Okay, perfect. Now, okay, let me just take a couple breaths here. My apologies, guys. I'm feeling really discombobulated today. News was pretty awful, and the awfulness seems to be piling, and it can be a lot to take in every day. Okay, so let's circle back to the knowledge. I'm going to talk a little bit more to help me ground as we slowly move into the practice. Okay, so again, gaze off or softened or eyes closed, whichever you feel more comfortable with. Feel free to lay down as we do that if you find it more grounding. You can be in a meditative posture as well. That's perfect. If you're in a chair, of course, keep both feet on the ground. That way, all the energy is moving as it needs to. So as we kick this off, normally knowledge is presented as something that's in our minds, right? It's just in our heads. What's cool, uh, in my my estimation, I should say, what I find cool, what I find fascinating, is that our bodies hold wisdom and memory as well. And if you think about what our cells do, the replications that they make, the intelligence there that knows it's a liver cell versus a lung cell versus an eye cell is very fascinating to me. And this is wisdom, this is knowledge, or this is memory, right? That's been encoded as they replicate. That in mind, I want you to slowly sink into how your body is sitting now or lying. I want you to just feel the weight of it. Okay, so here's where we might get into some triggering territory, okay? So please listen to your intuition, listen to your authentic voice. At any point it says enough, that's enough, okay? Cool. Okay, so from here, I want you to sense the history contained within your own body. So I have a scar on my hand that is actually a funny memory. It was scary at the time. It's pretty funny looking back on it. Okay. If you have similar scars, think about the history that yours holds. Again, within your boundaries. Okay. And I want you to include every ache here. When did you first notice the ache? Was it from sports? Was it from a fall? Maybe you were roughhousing as a kid, fell out of a tree. I did that. And I want you to allow the history to come through, including the joy, because that is also part of our history. And again, staying anchored in the body. This is sort of an advanced body scan-esque practice that we're doing here. We're just calling up the history aspects. Maybe you've got a little bit of discoloration on your skin. I've got one on my left leg. I've also got little like birthmarks. There's 3 of them, which are cool. They all look similar. It brings up joy for me to think about these. And all of these moments, whether joyful, scary, elevating, illuminating, terrifying, these are all facts of our existence. Yeah, they come through differently. Yep, they show up differently. They were expressed, including the scars. And these cannot be erased. So that's why we are starting here with the vessel we are in, the body that we are in. I'm gonna take a couple more breaths here. Okay, no, we're not. Intuition is saying move forward. All right, we're gonna move forward. So from here, within your boundaries, of course, always within your boundaries, I want you to bring to mind one simple, verifiable fact that feels important to you. It can be macro, it can be micro. It can be a historical event, it can be a scientific principle, it can be a personal memory. And as it flows up, don't panic if nothing's coming yet. That's perfectly fine. Continue forward with us, again, within your boundaries, okay? Feel this. Where does it show up in your body? Or where does it land in your body? And same principle for if something isn't flowing up. How does that feel? How is it landing in your body? And again, if at any point you need to get up, please do so. And then wherever you're noticing this verifiable fact showing up in your body, with that area. And as you inhale, I want you to affirm that you hold this. I hold this. And with the exhale, release the tension of the fear of it being taken away. What we're cultivating in this practice is not just remembering a fact that's verifiable. We are embodying the truth of this fact. We're seeing how it shows up in our body, where it shows up in our body, and we're breathing into that to anchor into that feeling. And it's perfectly fine to use the position you're in. So if you're lying down and you can't think of any, if nothing else is coming up, maybe that's perfect. Notice if maybe the weight in your body is what wants to be the anchor for this practice. Or perhaps you're sitting in your chair or you're standing, same thing. Notice where this is showing up in your body. It could be that the physical wants to be your verifiable fact because it is a fact. Your body weight is a fact. Okay, so we're going to expand out here. From this truth, whatever, no, I don't like using that. It's been misappropriated. So from the verifiable fact, I want you to ask, what other facts does this connect to? So I'm using my chair as my anchor because I need that right now. um, this connects to the floor directly beneath me. I would not be sitting here without the floor that the chair is sitting or standing on. So, what verifiable facts connect directly to your original verifiable fact that you pulled up? Now, depending on what you chose, you could have memories or stories or facts that support your original verified fact. And then I want you to see these as interconnected, as if they were a luminous web in your mind. And now that could be an illuminated list if you prefer that layout. It doesn't have to be a web the way I'm visualizing mine. And it can also be like images or words that are, connected by the illumination, right? So please adapt it to however or what resonates more directly with you. Couple more breaths here. And then as you start to build out your web or your list that's illuminated, I want you to feel the strength of this network. The strength of each part adding to each part and how they're stronger together. Because it's harder to disappear a single truth when it's woven into a resilient web of understanding. It's hard to disappear a single fact when it is woven into the web of understanding or a web of understanding, depending on what you chose. And this is why I specifically went with verifiable facts, because it's grounded in, now all I can think is facts. It's outside of the my truth, right? I feel like that word has been truth, I feel like has been co-opted and has been kind of distorted. So I try to not use that in these contexts. And these are verifiable, they can be peer reviewed, they can be reconfirmed, right? These are solidly in reality. You can't just disappear reality. You can't erase reality. And this web that we're really connecting to, the strength of it, each of its individual parts, how they're connecting to and strengthening all the other aspects, right? This is our cognitive immune system. Couple more breaths here. Okay, then we're gonna shift a little bit here, and we're gonna reflect. We're gonna do a little bit of meditation on our discernment, right? So I want you to inhale nice and deep, and I want you to exhale the map. Let all of what we just did go. Inhale, gently release. One more time. Inhale, exhale. Okay, now I want you to recall the time when you discovered something was true for yourself. Okay, again, this isn't my truth. We are still firmly grounded in reality. Okay, this is a discovery either through your own senses, your own research, your own reasoning. And I want you to relive the feeling of aha, or oh, I get it. That's what that means. The moment where the lens kind of clicked over and it illuminated, right? Felt like an alignment within. Mine was a math subject, actually. Mine was less of an aha moment and more of a finally. That makes sense now. It's this personal sense of security, or sorry, certainty. I've dubbed this the inner librarian. This capacity to verify, to keep coming at it from different ways until it makes sense, or reading more if that was needed, whatever your personal circumstance was. Since mine was math, I had to come at it from like 3 different angles before it finally clicked. And I want you to just sit with this feeling. And if you're able, inhale, let it grow and expand and strengthen. Of course, only as far as is comfortable, as far as your intuition says is acceptable, or your body, your authentic voice, right? Those are your authorities, those are your guides. This is your own personal authority, both to honor your boundaries, your intuition, and also to connect to that aha or finally moment. And this cannot be taken from us, it cannot be erased from us. Each time we've had an aha or a finally moment, we demonstrate live our own capacity to know, to continue to learn, to integrate, to process, to connect. A couple more breaths here. Allow that sense of elevation and empowerment to grow, and from that aha moment, or however, whatever's arising for you from that finally moment. One more nice deep inhale and exhale. And then you can slowly bring yourself back to the room, back into your body. Go ahead and stretch up, out, and my avatar seems to have frozen. Fair enough. Okay. So I wanted to end with this one because it is a very big internal fortification and it brings it back to our capacity to continue to grow and to acknowledge that we do already have history within us. We are living history and we are a wealth of knowledge and it cannot be taken from us. I don't think I had any other notes. I'm just double checking real quick because last time I ended too quickly and there were a couple things that I kind of wish I'd done on the live. Okay. Something that I would like to say is that I am grateful that you were here with me. I am grateful for everyone that's watching this later. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you found it elevating. I am so grateful you practiced with me today. Thank you for showing up. That's all I have for you this week. I will see you next week. Take care of yourself, take care of each other.